Okay, so my name is Natasha Currency. I'm a 41-year-old serial entrepreneur from Miami with business ties in a couple of different sectors. I have a real estate portfolio currently valuated at about 1.3 million.
On the top of your mind, name a few businesses that are scalable.
Michelle should not be opening up a business with bad credit. If we know nothing else about a business, we know that a business drinks money.
Hmm.
So generally, if a person has bad credit, they're already over leveraging their personal finances. So why would you take a person whose back is against the wall financially and throw them into a new business where immediately they have all kind of bills due?
For the people that never heard anything about credit repair, what exactly do you fix?
Okay. What are like high profile lenders looking for to qualify you for higher limit cards, right? Low derogatories. Like if you have a collection account, you're not gonna get a MX Platinum. Okay. They want to see that you're already managing some high limit credit cards. So I would say at least two credit cards with a $5,000 limit. What are like high profile lenders looking for to qualify you for higher limit cards, right? No derogatories. Like if you have a collection account, you're not going to get a MX Platinum. Okay. They want to see that you're already managing some high limit credit cards. So I would say at least two credit cards with a $5,000 limit.
Oh man, we have a very, very special episode today. And if you're the type of person that would love to understand credit, how credit work, loans, liens, how the bank operates, and we will fix your credit. And after you get your credit repair, what's next? We have a special guest in the house, and she came to lay it down. She's not holding anything back. She's going to break it down to the elementary terms so everyone can understand why we need credit and why are we fighting so hard to establish credit, and why whenever we do something bad or illegal, they quickly to take that away from us. So without any further delay, let's welcome Natasha Currency.
Thank you so much, Rex. I appreciate that introduction. I'm very excited to be here and share everything I know about credit.
Wonderful, excellent. How's business? How's everything going? How was 2025?
I would say overall 2025 was a little bit tougher. I have a few different streams of income and some of the streams did take a hit, but overall I feel very confident going into 2026. One thing I've learned this year that's made an absolute difference in my business is that you have to continuously reinvest in your business, right?
Absolutely.
And staff and marketing and ads and mentorships even to get where you need to go. So I've been doing a lot of reinvestments this year with the expectation that in 2026 those investments were paying out.
2026. We have a lot of people that has been procrastinated throughout the entire year of 2025 on whether it's business, personal life. What would you like to say to those people?
Well, term's not gonna stop, right? Um, the analogy I always tell people, for example, is if you're considering going back to school for something or picking up a trade, let's say the trade school is 2 years or the program is 3 years,
Mhm.
those 2 or 3 years are going to go by regardless. So
Fast.
you might as well go ahead and start the business, enroll in the program, whatever goal you have in your heart to achieve, you might as well go ahead and start because the time is going to pass now. So you just want to be thinking like when 3 years pass, when 5 years pass, what am I going to have to show for this time?
Absolutely.
Because we can't get back lost time, but we can always accelerate our goals and move forward today.
So good, so good. Um, I know you wear so many hats and you conduct so many different businesses. I mean, I would like to dive into the business aspect of it, but let's scale back, for a few.
Mhm.
Um, who is Natasha? Just give us a brief description for people that are watching this episode right now. My audience, they very, they're inquisitive. They want to know certain things. Who I'm bringing to the show and why am I bringing certain people to the show? Because everyone is strategically handpicked and is very intentional that I bring somebody to the platform. So break it down to me before the business. Who is Natasha, and what did you do? What were you doing, and in order to, carry on?
Okay, so my name is Natasha Currency. I'm a 41-year-old serial entrepreneur from Miami with business ties in a couple of different sectors. I have a real estate portfolio currently valuated at about 1.3 million. Most of my holdings are in Miami. I have a organization called Natasha Tax and Credit, wherein I work with individuals, small business owners, and entrepreneurs to help get their tax credit and LLC paperwork together. And then I also do some consulting. So, I've done a lot. There's a lot I want to do. But I guess in terms of this interview, what's important is like the role of credit in my life, right? And what credit has done for me and the importance of credit just in every adult's life in terms of making the appropriate inroads to be successful?
Okay. So what's your background? Like, were your parents into the finance world, or that's where you picked up the skills and the experiences?
No, that's a great question. So both of my parents were entrepreneurs, right? So I graduated from Columbia University, a master's degree with a master's in social work. So I came back to Miami, started working for the county, ended up working for the VA. But deep inside, I always had this desire to be an entrepreneur. So my first business was in the healthcare sector. I made plenty of money there. But from there, I just moved on into other things. I moved into taxes. I moved into real estate, then I kind of moved into credit. But I think what's important about my journey is that you meet a lot of serial entrepreneurs who kind of start something and then end it and go on to the next thing.
Correct.
As I've kind of moved around in entrepreneurship, I've always kept kind of the previous business open.
Okay.
So now this is why I kind of have a continuum of businesses across different sectors that I manage, and I continuously am trying to scale them, if that makes
I
sense.
understand. Yeah, that makes perfectly good sense. And also, it seems like most of your past businesses, although they are currently still operating, it seems like everything is kind of like has something to do with numbers and finance. Is that something that you've ever was interested in?
Well, let's just be honest about what I've learned about business and small business, right? The backbone of small business is sales and income coming in, right?
That's
So very early in business, no matter what sector you're in, you're realizing that, okay, I need to make sales in order to keep this thing afloat.
of course.
So whatever thing I go into, I'm always kind of initially doing some kind of testing to see, is there a proof of concept, right? I'm sure before you launched the podcast, you kind of did a lot of research, maybe did some
Absolutely.
preliminary stuff just to see if this thing works. Because as we know, 80% of businesses go out of business within the first 2 or 3 years. So there's always a stage where I call like proof of concept, where I'm just kind of maybe doing the business as a hobby to see if I like it, to see if there's actual business. And then I'm very in the position to scale. Because to be honest, every idea I've had wasn't really scalable, or something once I did a concept paper, something I wanted to further pursue.
Right.
So that's something I've been talking to entrepreneurs a lot, just in terms of entrepreneurship,
Hmm.
is before you even jump into entrepreneurship, which has been sort of a trend lately, you want to first look at your skill sets, right? Everyone wants to be a CEO or say I'm a business owner, but like, what skills do you have? The second issue is, are those skills scalable, right? Because let's say you make great turkey dinners or great pizzas, right? You can make 3 to 5 pizzas a day, but can you really open up a pizza joint and make 50 pizzas a day,
And
manage the Uber Eats, manage you know what I mean? So the last thing is then like financial resources. Do you have the money to make all these pizzas, hire all this staff, and deliveries out? So a lot of times, as entrepreneurs, we have a lot of good ideas, but not everything is scalable, and not every skill set can transfer into a profitable business.
it's very important that you said that not every business is scalable. On the top of your mind, name a few businesses that are scalable, as far as what business you can stretch, expand, and take to the next level.
Okay, so I think the first distinction that we have to understand, and this is so important for
Mhm.
anybody, is the distinction between being self-employed and running a business.
Absolutely.
These are two different things. A lot of us are self-employed, but we believe we have a business, and it's just not true.
It's not true.
A business is when you have a system with other people working for them. The average small business has less than 3 employees.
Right.
So it's not per se a business. It might be a hobby business. It might be a self-employment thing.
Mhm.
But to really be like a self-sustained business, you have to have staff members, and you have to have a system, right? Because in order to be the CEO, chief executive officer,
Right.
there has to be Indians if you're the chief, right?
Yeah, the chief.
So if you're the only one there, it's not really a business. It's a, it's a hustle.
Break that down to me a little bit because I would love for the audience to grasp the concept of what is a CEO, because half of the time people they running around just calling themselves, oh, I'm the CEO, this and that and the third, but in actuality, it's only one person.
Snakes, I meet people who go around saying they're an entrepreneur and they don't even have an LLC. This is just a cruel slave street work. This just sounds good. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm looking like what you talk trash on Instagram or the stories, or you talk trash on TikTok, or I don't know what, like, or you're cold and you want to leverage that into a podcast and but
Something.
and that's important. Like, the influencer market is a market, but that market is kind of declining right now. There is room to be an entertainer. Obviously, the entertainment business is huge in the entertainment world, but I think the key component of having a business is having some structure, having staff people, and having systems.
Yes.
To me, that would be what differentiates a side hustle from an actual business.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree 1,000%, because a business without any structure, without a system, is not going anywhere. Even a vehicle, of a car without an engine, is not moving. It's not going anywhere. It's very important, and that you touch base on that, because and you know what I think also. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think social media has a lot to do with that. You know what I mean?
The lifestyle.
The lifestyle marketing. If you look at, I'm not bashing on anybody here. I'm not pointing fingers. If you look at Atlanta and you look at Miami, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yes, we're all in the South, but I find a lot of people that move to Miami. Let's just say I'm on a flight just recently. Just open conversation. I'm like, oh, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Why are you moving to Miami? First thing, I'm going to be an influencer. I'm going to be a content creator. Whatever happens to going to school, learn the structure, learn the business, have
Developing the skill set in order to
be able, in order to maintain or manage something. No. Two out of three people was like, content creator. I understand content creator. I mean, yes, we make a lot of money and stuff like that, but you need to have some type of structure. You need to learn the fundamental. We need to learn the basics. So, and from my understanding, I think, most of your business is based on structures.
Mm-hmm. You have to have structure, because it's like, long story short, where is this thing going? Most things, and you've been around a lot. I'm sure you've seen photographers, podcasts come and go. Things just kind of fizzle out because the money runs out, and then the person typically has to go get a real job.
Absolutely.
So I encourage everyone, or another thing I want to, two aspects, credit and taxes, obviously. Regarding taxes, there seems to be a lot of confusion still among people about, like, if they have to file taxes. Yes. Like, the answer is yes. Like, there are some exceptions, like if you make less than $10,000 or some other stipulations, but generally speaking, if you've earned any wages, you have to file your taxes. And the other point I want to make is that this is a part of the structure we're talking about. You have to be incorporated. You have to have a tax standing. You have to have a business plan. You have to have articles of incorporation. So when we talk about a business, this is not just some movement in your head. This is supposed to be a documented entity that you can, like, leverage and grow with a group of people or staff. That's a real business. Anything short of that is really just a hustler, which I'm not knocking, that we just have to call it what it is.
Exactly, absolutely. And we found a lot of hustlers, not too many CEOs. They have the title, but that's not what a CEO is consisted of. You are just a hustler,
Exactly.
and most hustlers, they're overwork.
They overwork, and you're always hustling for the next dollar. And so that's the next thing I want to talk about is credit and entrepreneurship. I work with a lot of coaches, and so they'll send me their clients over saying, "Hey, I'm helping Michelle open a business. I want you to help her with her credit," right? Michelle should not be opening up a business with bad credit. If you know nothing else about a business, we know that a business drinks money.
Mm-hmm.
So generally, if a person has bad credit, they're already over leveraged in their personal finances. So why would you take a person whose back is against the wall financially and throw them into a new business where immediately they have all kind of bills due? And typically they have more bills than they have more money, because on the beginning side of a business, you're still trying to build up sales.
Absolutely, it's a suicidal mission.
So I just had a person who was recently referred to me. She's opening up a daycare. A month into the credit repair, she says, "Hey, I'm just out of money right now. I had some bills pop up for the daycare. I think the AC went out,
Mm,
which that's a $5,000 bill.
easy.
I can't even afford to stay in a credit repair company because." So if you look at what this woman is telling me and looking at the business, I gave the business 6 months maybe before it's closed, because if you don't have
That's
credit,
she has.
you don't have business credit. The business isn't really bringing in an income.
Mm,
So how long before this whole thing runs
flat.
out and you got to go get a job? Because at the end of the day, you still have a family and your personal bills. You know what I mean?
So, um, it is so how important it is to have business credit. How important is that,
It's very important.
and why is it so important?
Okay, so like I said, and you know this as an entrepreneur, and I say when you go and get a job, everything is there for you: your desk, your pens, your printer. When you're an entrepreneur, you got to go buy everything. So the first question is, unless you a bootstrapper and you can save your money through your job or your hustle, where are you going to get the capital from to pay for this business? Like literally, where is it going to come from, right?
Spending.
So there are only so many options. You can get, friends and family can give you money. They have venture capital funding. They have private equity funding where they're going to want a piece of your business, or you can just leverage your personal credit, build your business credit, and get a loan from the bank. Now let's think about this. If I'm going into to open a business and you're an investor and you say, "Okay, Natasha, for 50% of your business, I'll give you 50,000, and I have this $1 million idea."
Hmm.
For $50,000, do I really want to give you half of my business
That's crazy.
with a 750, 725 credit score? I can go to the bank and get a $50,000 loan or $50,000 in credit cards and liquidate it. So it becomes about ownership and self-efficacy. Like if you can manage your own resources to build the business you want, because once you get outside investors involved, you're liable to lose your business. I don't know if you've been following what went on with Pinky Cole and Slutty Vegan, but she did the VC approach.
Hmm.
She had outside investors come in to
Right.
buy percentages of her business, and they bought a majority stake in her business, and essentially she was locked out of her own business.
Exactly.
And they don't care because they're outside investors. They don't care about the vision of their community. They don't care about giving back to the African American community. They want their money back when they invested. So she had to go fundraise again, buy back her business, and now she's doing a franchise model to try to get capital up. But this is what I'm saying. Like every time I would want to own all of my business rather than dealing with a third party investor who can tie my business up and basically take control eventually. So that's why I think personal credit and business credit are critical, because you're going to run into all kind of costs in business that you're going to need the credit for. The other thing I want to say, even if you have a successful business, right? We know that, for example, the end of the year is slow. The beginning of the year is kind of slow up until tax season. The summer kind of gets slow. Maybe there are a lot of like weddings and stuff, or schools are closed. Things kind of slow down. You mean sometimes loans to get you over those humps, right?
Right.
Because if I just had a big Black Friday sale and all that inventory sold out and sales are slow right now, I need maybe some capital during this lull to help me get to the new year once business starts booming again. So we always think that just because you had a good season or a good year, that the next season or the next year is going to be as profitable, and not necessarily. And I'll speak to that personally. I also have an e-commerce company, and I've seen this particular company in 50% this year less than what it did last year, and then 50% of what it did the year before that. So if I didn't have some lines of credit to come in and help me support this would be out of business.
You touched a lot of key elements throughout everything that you just said. Let's revert back. Let's bring it back so the audience can understand. So everything you said, it seems like you need credit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those with bad credit, what do they do?
Okay. This sounds like the most basic answer.
Let's take it back all the way back
Your
to
airport.
elementary term.
That 1A, right?
Yes.
You need to look at your credit report.
Mhm.
Now, that may seem like, well, I talk to people every day who are like scared. They don't even want to like look like I think it's a repo on there. It might be a child support. It might be a so I'm like, okay, step one, let's come out of the dark
Right.
and see what's there. Okay, so once you know and I know what's on there, we can come up with a strategy to how to attack stuff, right?
Correct.
So that's my first challenge with people is getting them to see all 3 FICO scores, and I'll break that down. So a lot of people, once you say, okay, where do you check your credit? They're going to say Credit Karma. Okay, well, what's wrong with Credit Karma? Credit Karma only shows you your Equifax and your TransUnion, and it only shows you your Vantage score.
Mhm.
Lenders are going to use your FICO score when they're looking at underwriting the bureau for you, right? So the first thing we have to tell people is like, okay, we can't go by your Credit Karma. We're going to have to use an app like Identity IQ,
Mhm.
My Free Score Now, or Smart Credit, which gives us our 3 bureau FICO scores. And from there, we can kind of see what's really on your credit and then come up with an attack strategy.
Right.
The next point I want to make about your credit report and like reading a credit report and how you read it. The first thing you want to look at, and it's always on the top of the report, is your demographic information, right? So my name is Natasha Currency, right? But I see something on there, Natasha Smith or Natasha Currency with 2 Y's and a U. L or something. You know, I automatically know, well, that's not the exact variation of my name. So what I'm saying is that all of these irregularities or small inaccuracies all need to be corrected. The next section is going to be addresses. Okay, addresses can link you to old debt, outdated debt, past debt. You want to clean up the demographic information on your credit report. So the first thing I tell people is look at all of your names, look at all of your addresses, and look at all of your employees, which is typically the first part of your report. And you want to call the credit bureau or send letters to say, hey, this is my most updated address, this is my current phone number, this is my correct name. Delete everything that's not that. Okay, because until you even do that where the credit bureau can recognize you as you can't even dispute anything because they don't know exactly you're Natasha Smith or Natasha Currency at which address, where do you work exactly. The only thing I want to make about that is like from a lender's perspective, right? So let's say I go to a bank with all of these discrepancies and say I want a loan. Well, they're looking, well, what is your exact name? Or why do you have 5 addresses on your credit report? It says here you worked at Amazon, but then it also says Publix. Like
Makes no
a,
sense.
a bank wants to, their goal is to get their money back. So if in the underwriting process they just determine that you're unstable or something about your profile seems fraudulent, they're not going to approve you for any resources. So you want to come off as somebody who is stable, who can repay the funds.
Absolutely. So for example, quick question. I know we started from moving around, but at the same time we try not to lose the audience because I mean you and I we're knowledgeable into that aspects, but I want the people to grasp the concept of credit repair
Okay.
and how important it is to get that. For the people that never heard anything about credit repair, what exactly do you fix?
Okay. So credit repair is the process of cleaning up a person's profile and removing anything outdated, derogatory, or negative from their credit report.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's what credit repair is, cleaning it through various strategies. Why is credit repair important? And this is the other thing I want to say before I go into why it's important. Credit repair is not a one and done thing.
Mhm.
Credit repair is a lifelong journey because every time you do something with your credit, it impacts something else. So just as a point of reference, you should be checking your credit like how you check your bank account,
Quite often.
like at least once a week. You know what I mean? Like your retirement accounts, any of your financial profiles, you should be checking your credit, I would say at least once a week. I almost lost my train of thought. So it should only contain the meat and potatoes on your report. So your current name, one name variation, one address, one employer, and then we get to the inquiry section, right? So why are inquiries, I would say, dangerous, right? So you get an inquiry on your credit report every time you apply for a new line of credit, right? So sometimes I have people who come to me with maybe 30 inquiries on their credit. Inquiries make you look like a red flag to any lender because it makes you look desperate. Like, why do you have 30 inquiries? So that means you've kind of been going all around town.
Asking for money.
Hey, can I have a loan? Can I have a loan? Can I have a loan? Why are you so financially needy right now? Because remember, the bank cares about can you pay them back? And the irony about dealing with the bank is that they're more likely and they when you money will least read it, because they want to show see that you're withstanding.
Absolutely.
So you want to get the inquiries removed, and there are different strategies to do that. But then the next part is derogatory accounts. Payment history is 35% of your credit report. So let's just start there. If you have a 30-day late, 60-day late, 90-day late,
Delinquencies.
you're because not only do banks want their money back, they want it back on time. You're generally not gonna qualify for much if you keep showing the history of late payments. The next thing is derogatory accounts. So these are things that have either been charged off or moved into collections, which are kind of different. But it's the same issue. They need to be removed because this shows poor giving them credit.
Let's just say, so basically you wouldn't. So what typically what type of score would someone need to have to even get a platinum card?
This is a great question. We focus so much on the score
Mm-hmm.
when we really need to be focusing on the data points. Okay.
Okay, let's talk about that.
So, what are like high profile lenders looking for to qualify you for higher limit cards, right? No derogatories. Like, if you have a collection account, you're not going to get an MX Platinum. Okay. They want to see that you're already managing some high limit credit cards. So, I would say at least 2 credit cards with a $5,000 limit. You want to have very, very few inquiries. I'm talking about 0, maybe 2, 3 inquiries. The next important thing that's 30% of your score is utilization.
Okay.
A lot of people don't understand this concept of being over leveraged. And that's when your credit card usage is about really 50% or more. Banks start to look at you as a red flag because they don't know where this thing is going. Like, you use the card one more time, you're at 50, 60%, which is almost full utilization. So we don't know financially where you are. So we would like to see that utilization go down to at least 20% before we extend you more credit, just because we don't want you to go charge up everything and not pay us back. So you really need to be at a very, very, very strong financial standing to qualify for the card. Now, if you meet all those criteria, you would naturally be at about a 725, 730, and that's about where you would need to be minimally to be qualified for this card. But again, I want you to just focus on those data points: your utilization, your inquiries, and those already having established credit. Because that's the other point. People think, again, because I have a 700 score, I can get all these things. But you have to look at what constitutes that 700 score. If it's a bunch of BS little credit cards, and you got a Forever 21 card and a Capital One and an Open Sky, that doesn't equate to an American Express Platinum.
Right.
You would need to build up some more higher level credit cards and then try to apply for this.
Right. So
Which is where the credit unions come, in clutch, because you can build more easily with them.
so what about department store cards like the Macy's, the
A waste of time.
Oyster Tile?
A waste of time because they're going to put an inquiry on your credit report. They're probably going to extend you $500 to $1,000 when you really need big boy credit cards reporting from the major lenders. So I would, and then you think about this. They might give you 20% off if you sign up today. So going back to your previous question, if I have this credit card that's giving me 2 miles for every dollar I spend, which makes more sense? Let me use the higher credit cards and be racking up my miles, because where this 20% off, $100.
So it's safe to say that the big boy cards give you a lot more incentive and they give you a lot more benefits and
They give you a lot more leverage in the long term because they have a higher standing,
higher standing.
higher limits, more rewards.
Right. And if someone that went through the entire credit repair process and they need a boost, is that when trade line comes in, or
That's exactly when a trade line comes in.
Okay.
So a trade line is typically used for a few reasons, particularly in the funding space, because it's the comparable credit issue, right? So remember earlier I was saying they want to see at least 2 credit cards with a $5,000 limit before they extend you something with no preset limit, typically 10, 20, 30,000 or more. Because they want to see that you're already managing credit cards and that you're already paying them. So if you can't manage 2 $5,000 credit cards, why would I go give you a $20,000 American Express Platinum?
Right.
That doesn't even make sense. So this is where trade lines come in, right? Because okay, say I maybe only have the $2,000 limits, right? But I want to go apply for some higher level funding. Let me throw on a $20,000 trade line, maybe even two or $20,000 trade line and a $30,000 trade line to make my profile look better,
Good.
and then go apply for the higher limit credit card. So it shows that okay, I have on my report some higher limit reporting credit cards, especially in the business credit funding space.
Right. So
The trade line should only be considered like the icing on top once your profile is already cleaned up, because I sell trade lines too, and I make it clear to people I'm not putting a trade line on a 500 credit score because that doesn't make sense. It's not going to even do what it needs to do.
yeah.
But if a person comes to me with like a 760, 780 and they purchase a few trade lines, it could very well take them into the 800s.
Right. So basically, you are not putting furniture in a dirty house.
Singer. It just is not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes perfect good sense. And earlier today, during this interview, you also mentioned something about loans. Sir, starting a business, in order for you not to burn through your savings, personal cash, so it's important to go out and get a loan, correct? Now, how can someone get a loan? What would their profile would have to look like?
Okay. So this again is like how I said, the first step to credit repair is looking at your credit. First step to business funding is what? Having a business. Rich, this seems like a no-brainer, but how many people probably are thinking I'll run business funding but don't even have a LLC, or the LLC is no longer active because they let it expire? Right? So step one is, because if you go to the Chase down the street and say, hey, I want a loan, the first thing they're gonna do is look you up in SunBiz. The next thing they're gonna say is, do you have a business checking account? So you meet people all the time, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Do you have a business bank account? Or no. So if you got a loan in your business name, where will they put the money? You think they're gonna just give it to you? They're gonna put it in the business checking account. So it all goes back to organizational structure. Okay, first your personal credit needs to be intact. Secondly, you need a entity, a LLC or a corporation in good standing that's active. Thirdly, you need a business checking account. And then from there, we can talk about like starting the business credit and funding process, you know?
Okay. Did Mills Bank tap into your personal profile to
Absolutely.
get around?
So if you're a new business starting out, you can get some funding, but it's going to be personally guaranteed. And what that means is that I'm going to be the guarantor, which means that maybe Natasha Currency LLC is getting a loan for $50,000, but as a guarantor, I'm saying that if the business crashes, Natasha herself is going to be responsible for paying this money back.
In case.
Because and this is what they call leveraging your personal credit to get the business credit, which you hear a lot about on social media.
So basically, your personal profile is the personal guarantor to that loan.
Exactly.
In case you default, in case you choose not to pay it.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
But what's the benefit of the business credit is that loan report on your personal credit, so it will screw up your ratios. So let's say you go get a $50,000 loan, it won't appear on your personal side. It'll only appear on your business credit, which means you don't have that $50,000 debt showing on your personal side.
And from point A to Z, first of all, like a client comes to you for a credit repair. After you look at the profile, do you educate those clients how to maintain the profile after you go through the repair process? Do you educate them?
Yeah, and it's hard because what you're talking to people about is changing their patterns. For example, if you have a credit card, and this is to everyone in this room and watching, all of your credit cards should be on auto pay for the minimum,
Right.
to ensure that you never miss a payment. This is the only way to ensure you never miss a payment. But when you tell people, oh, put all your cards on auto pay, they say, yeah, okay, and they don't do it.
They don't do it. All right. You know, like they say, um, success live cruise. So throughout the entire credit repair career and businesses, what have you had client with as far as attain?
Funding. I've had the client in total receive 150,000 in business funding. I've worked with people who their only other option was bankruptcy when I looked at their credit, because if you have 15 negative accounts in collections and you don't have the resources to pay them back, is you have two options, kind of bankruptcy or credit repair. So being able to get that person to even a 680 so that they can qualify for a home is a miracle. I've had a number of clients go on to be condo owners and homeowners, even in their 30s, 40s, 50s, which is important. That a lot of times you feel like, or if you don't get a property by the time you're 30, 40, it's hopeless for you. So I'm helping clients in their 50s, even get properties. So those have been, I would say, my highlights of my credit career. And just kind of giving people hope where there was none. I'd noticed a lot of times, like we think sometimes so big as professionals about, their business credit and the funding, but I'm dealing with a lot of people in their 30s, 40s who can't qualify for an apartment, who need a car that they can't qualify for, and who can't even qualify for a mortgage. So we're talking about basic things that are like a part of day-to-day life. So that's kind of my bread and butter, just people who need everyday resources because their credit has been so ran through that they can't qualify for anything.
Wow. That's, I mean, you just dropped a lot of Jane, and I really hope that everyone that was watching this episode grasp. I mean, I don't want everybody to learn everything that you just said,
Yeah.
but at least retain 10% and go back and rewatch this interview and be able to learn a lot more from what we just talked about. And as far as business funding, how much have you helped past client get on the top of your mind?
Yeah, so a lot of times we do like loan stacking and credit card stacking. So we might get like 20,000 here, 50,000 there. It's not like per se all from one entity. There's also SBA funding still around. A lot of people only equate like SBA with COVID and all that money that came out. But if you're gonna really be trying to get like $150,000, you really want to look at the SBA because they have the best interest rates and just the best terms, and you can get an SBA loan with, I think, maybe a 650 credit limit. So that's an awesome opportunity as well.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you also had clients build their profile to get to an SBA loan.
Yeah, because as you know, everything has to be on point, including your tax returns. Even if it's showing the loss, even if it's, whatever it is, you need this paperwork. And like I said earlier, for some reason, there still seems to be a lot of confusion about like taxes, or like if I should file, if I want to file. Like it's mandatory that you file, and it's also just a good practice because one of my mentors, she talks about this from the beginning. Set your business up to be like Walmart. Don't put things in your name. Put it in the business name. Have a business checking account. Like you really want to separate out your business from you financially because of the whole corporate veil and the tax liability issue. So you want to just be operating a clean business with clean books from day one if you can, because it's going to make all the difference in what you can qualify for down the line.
Excellent, excellent.
Because most businesses really run in debt and off debt, but no one really talks about it. Most corporations,
Yeah.
they run off debt.
Wow. I mean, we still.
Then they work. They file for bankruptcy code and
I mean, you seems to be very knowledgeable when it comes to the credit space and business space. That what really got you into that type of business? Were you struggling with bad credit, or what's the background?
No, okay, so I'll tell you my story. I remember this, like, so taxes, I always did my own taxes. I remember being in college and realizing like, oh, I need to file my taxes. I never thought to go to somebody to do my taxes. I just started researching and did my own taxes. So this is crazy to me. And think back, like did my cruise, I just decided I'm gonna do my own taxes, But with credit, I guess it was a similar story. I didn't have bad credit, but I remember I had some inquiries. And then I remember asking my friends, like, hey, do you have a credit card over 10,000? And one of my friends was like, yeah, I have a credit card over 10,000. So I was like, I wonder, why don't I have a credit card over 10,000? So this was like maybe 10, 15 years ago. I went to Lexington Law and they were like back and forth. And they were like BSing me, like monthly payments. I would have to call and get aggressive, and they'd be like, okay, well, do this now. And then I would see a little progress, but it was like, this wasn't making any progress. But I remember I would always make a copy of their letters and like put it in a file. So fast forward, I was at this event. And again, I had always knew about credit repair. I had done it for myself, some of my friends, but it wasn't a business. I met this couple, the Smiths actually, and they were credit teachers and mentors. And so they were like, yeah, we have this 2-day intensive and we teach you everything about credit repair. So I signed up for $10,000 thinking, okay, I'll launch a credit repair business because I knew it would go very well with the tax business. So I took the class. This was February of 2021. And then I was going to have this big credit and real estate event. And then COVID, remember, quarantine started March 15, 2021.
Shut down.
So then everything kind of went left. But I think what I recognized at that time, based on where I was in my real estate journey, is that I was going to need more credit to get me through to the next level. And I didn't know exactly what that would look like, but I knew I was going to need more financial resources. So I had attended a conference before that was about like wealth development and home ownership and how you could get more properties. And their concept was like, hey, you may need to kind of start your own little banking system around you, get a couple of lines of credit, just establish your credit. If you have to pull money from your 401k, just do whatever you can to get a property. So that was my thinking, like, let me establish different lines of credit and banking relationships so that whatever deal comes along, I have that resource to pull on.
Yeah, you stay ready. You ain't got to get.
Exactly. So that's how I became very passionate about credit. And then when I started getting the high limit cards, I'm like, oh, now I get how this works. You know what I mean? And so from there, I just took off and started helping everyone around me and grew the business.
When you say high limit card, which credit card helps your credit the most? Is it the charge card or the?
I would say a credit union card or like the big boy cards, the Bank of America, the Chases, the Wells Fargo's, the Truist cards. They all have a little bit more rate. And American Express is a great card to have.
Yeah, it's a great card to have. And like you said earlier, American Express has different tiers of.
Exactly. So you can, I think they have maybe 10 different credit cards, business and personal, and all across all that.
It's to have a good relationship.
And then the thing is, like, with Navy Federal or American Express, once you're in their ecosystem, you never have to like formally apply for credit again because they know your scores, you're in their system and they kind of rank you themselves. So you can just call. Once you have one American Express, you can just call and say, hey, can I get the other American Express? And they'll just automatically qualify you because they have their own internal ranking. So those are two banks to just establish relationships with because they'll take you the long haul.
Excellent. Everything you just say is certainly on point because I personally deal directly with American Express a lot. Yes, I'm a platinum card holder. Two, actually, I have a business platinum card and I have a personal. They do have the relationship card for exactly what you said. Call them up and say, listen, I would like to have the blue card. I'd like to have the pink card. Just recently, they had the mirror card that came out. Call them out. It's they are for the people, but at the same time, they don't mess around when it comes to make that payment. So it's a search card. It means the balance is right into the massage card. And also, one thing that people have to be aware of when it comes to charge card, also, don't just go spend. Don't go crazy and just spend and spend and spend because when it's time to pay. And American Express do not forgive.
Yeah, and sometimes people think, I'm going to use my Amex to go put an investment and I'll get the. No, this is not the card to do that with.
Yeah. Here's another misconception that people have that I would like to touch base on that. A charge card doesn't mean unlimited.
It's just a preset limit.
It's a preset limit based on their spending. people think automatically because they are qualified for a platinum card. Or I have a platinum
It's
card.
unlimited.
It's unlimited.
No.
It is not unlimited. It's all based on your spending habit. Reason why? I did the test myself. During COVID, well, right after COVID, well, COVID's still around. 2023, I was spending a lot on inventory, online stores and stuff like that, racking up $100-something thousand bills every month. Now, at first they started me off at 20,000. Mind you, it's an American Platinum. I tried to charge 15,000. It got declined. The reason why I said it's a platinum card, I thinking, no, it's big boy card. It's a limited. No, it wasn't.
No, you're
I
right.
had to spend, spend. Then they opened the floodgate to 50,000. Then when they noticed that I was making $30,000 payment,
Then they extend your preset in.
then you 75, and at some point I had close to $500,000 credit line with them. So I'm just saying that, sir. People just that are watching this episode, so they know exactly a platinum card doesn't mean unlimited.
So I have a question for you. Do you think it's worth the $895?
It all depends. It all depends on your financial stability. To each his own. If you can't afford to pay it, sure, pay it. The benefits are great if you use them. When I used to travel a lot, and when I was when I had multiple stores, I was buying a lot of inventory. $895 was nothing. At first, I think it was like $495 or something like that.
Then $695.
Yeah, I started with them back in 2017. And it was $695, $795. Now it's $895. Please understand one thing. Like I said, to each his own. If you can afford $895 nearly, yes. And if you are using those benefits, sure. Do I think it's worth it at this point in my life? Not really, because I don't do as much anymore. I try to do as little as possible and live comfortably.
Yeah, no, I'm at the same space. I was thinking about turning mine in because I don't travel as much. Yeah, you know, I don't go to the Equinox gym. Like, I'm not using a lot of stuff,
No, and the
Here you got the clear, the TSA pre-checked already. Like, ready to go.
Yeah. So, this was very informative conversation, and I hope, like I said earlier, I hope everyone that is watching this episode get something out of it. Even if you retain 10%, go back and rewatch it. Share the link to someone that need that type of information. You know, just a few more questions before we get out of here. What does financial freedom look like to you?
That's something I wonder every night. Because I got into real estate because I was making money as an entrepreneur, and I'm like, okay, I need some hard assets for retirement. And I'm like, this is passive income. But the deeper you get into real estate, you realize this is not passive income. This is what you're doing. Like, it's management. It can be very intense. So now once you start buying real estate, everyone gets you into the door game. So I mean, it yours you back, because now you're supposed to get 1 million doors. And like, so I'm at 4 doors. I'm a smaller investor. I have all 4 units rented out, but I'm trying to figure out what's next for me, because what is financial freedom? One thing, it's not being self-employed. It definitely would have to be the 4 quadrants from Robert Kiyosaki. They have self-employed, working, and then they have business owner,
and there's an investor.
Yeah, so I have to either have a fully functioning business, meaning it's a business where I have staff and they run it, or really focus on being an investor, because that's other than that, you're stuck in slavery and you got to be there.
Funny enough, for conversation purposes, big fan of Robert Kiyosaki. I listen to him, I watched him a lot, and there's quite a few things that doesn't sit right with me. That's just my opinion. And when you I have done huge comparison between Robert Kiyosaki and they ran.
Oh, I was going to say that they're two different total opposite. Theoretical framework, because he like no debt, no debt, no debt. And Robert Kiyosaki's like file bankruptcy and move on.
Here's my take on that. I have done the Robert Kiyosaki. I've done that method. And to be quite honest, it's very stressful. A lot of debt is involved.
And I'm afraid of that too. That's why I'm kind of stuck where I'm at with the doors, because I'm like, I don't want to get into all this debt.
And here's another thing. This, it might sound racist, it might sound biased, or it's for information purposes. I really think that the way real estate is going right now, we are behind the 8 ball. We are so far behind when it comes to real estate. That method that Robert Kiyosaki have been teaching for those past few years could have worked. Nowadays, I don't think.
And not in the Miami market.
Not in the Miami's market. On the more conservative side, of course, Dave Ramsey. I have been trying his method for the past 2 years. From, the baby millionaires, all of that. I think it's a very safe method. It's less stressful.
And it's less like risk and liability.
Yes. And yes, it's a process to get to the big bag. Well, when you do get to the big bag, you're going to keep the big bag.
But you don't have all these debts.
You don't have all these debts. So, from a person that I've tried both methods, I like to be safe. I'm not sure what your risk tolerance is.
I want it to be high. Right now it's low because I'm just very conservative, and I'm getting kind of more conservative.
Let them run with that.
And the thing about real estate and because I have a violation at one of my properties now, once you get into that construction and flipping and GCs and architects, this stuff can go anywhere. You could have money tied up. It could be delays. A hurricane can come. So I'm really kind of hesitant about my next steps.
Being hesitant, there's nothing wrong with that because...
and I'm watching the market because look at where interest rates are right now. See.
I'm well experienced when it comes to real estate. I've done quite a few flips. I've had plenty of bills and pre-construction, construction from scratch. My personal preference, from my personal experience, I like to be safe right now.
I agree.
Based on today's economy. For me to even take any high risk right now, I would probably sit on $20 million plus.
That makes sense.
Just recently, I was doing a pre-construction for a client up north. When I say up north, I mean North Florida. The estimate proposal was $489 before, the economy, before the election. We went back and revised the same estimate with everything, with all the tariff. It went up to $615.
And that's why I like flipping right now, because how do you flip in this economy with materials going up, but home values going down?
Like I said, to each his own. Personally, I really think that a person with low tolerance should just kind of like sit back, still working on the back, find a way to still make money to keep your finance afloat. But as far as taking high major risk, I don't think I really don't think it's safe.
No, I agree.
And to piggyback on everything that you just stated earlier, which, like I said, this has been a very informative interview. Fix your credit. Put yourself in a position when the market opens up, so you can take advantage of it. And I'm glad that we were able to have a sit down and we discussed all the benefits, what comes with it, and you do have classes that teaches those type of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I have webinars and live class.
When is your next class?
My next webinar is January 7th. It's going to be a live webinar on Zoom. If anybody wants to contact me, my Instagram is at Natasha Currency. So is my YouTube. I have a website, www.natashacredit.com. And the classes are free. They're just informative. I talk about a lot of the similar themes, thin credit files, how to build credit, consumer law to make disputes on your credit, helping people understand the funding process, just to elucidate some of these things we keep hearing about on Instagram, and they seem within touch but out of touch at the same time. So people can understand, like, what is this? Do I qualify for it? And then how do I even start the process, you know? Because learning kind of teaches us credit. You have to kind of just learn on your own, which is usually by making mistakes, unfortunately, you know?
Unfortunately, yes. Have you helped anyone that needs to refinance their property?
Yeah, I just had this woman thinking about Miss P. Yeah, she came in, and that's the big issue that was going on maybe this past year, that people have all this equity in their homes because of where home prices are, but their credit is bad. So they can't even put the money out. So they're having to come to me for credit repair so they can go ahead and refinance the home. And even the refinance, you also need taxes because they want to show that you can still. It's like getting a new mortgage. They still want to see that you work. Hopefully, you have the equity in the home. So I did her taxes and her credit to get refinanced.
Very important point that you just made. A refinance is a new mortgage. You are doing another closing. People don't understand.
Yeah, but people don't, and you know you could lose your house in that whole refinance, and a lot of people do.
Absolutely. It is a refinance. It's a new closing. Yeah.
Where now that same property where you had no mortgage or lower mortgage, you're gonna have to have a higher mortgage. So do you have something to do with that lump sum of money you're getting to invest in something or make home renovations, because they're gonna want their money back.
Absolutely. Before we get out of here, couple of questions. What would Natasha would say to, if you can go back to your 18-year-old self, what would you say to her?
I would say to think bigger and start sooner. I wish I had started my real estate journey earlier. That everyone was kind of in my ear about it, even though everyone in my family owns real estate. They just kind of counted the young people out. So I would just start my journey younger, because back then properties were 40, 50, $60,000, 3 2s and stuff.
So now it's up to us to teach that to the young
Exactly,
generation.
exactly. And have confidence.
Yeah.
I think sometimes as a young person, you feel so unqualified, but you don't understand that you're gearing up to be the next generation of leaders. So
Yeah, knowledge is very important. Very important. Um, one last question. How would you like a client to feel after working with you, after going through a credit repair journey with you? What's the feeling that you would like to see?
well, hope. I think that's what credit represents: hope and possibility. So I just want people to have hope and the opportunity. And the other thing, like, my secret goal in all of this, between the taxes and the credit and getting your profile together, is really wealth development. Like, I want everybody to have some sort of wealth, even if it's just you own your own single family home. That's an asset that you can pass down and leverage, or if we're starting a business or whatever you want to do. I always use this phrase, like, live the life you deserve. And so I just want people to be empowered to use their credit, to leverage it, to get the things that they want and deserve out of life, because it's just this resource there, like, that a lot of people don't leverage, and there's so much power in your credit. I've seen people live off credit. I've seen people get rich off credit. I've seen people leverage businesses off of credit, and it's just an amazing thing if you can just take control over it and drive it in a certain direction.
So good, so good, so well put together. The way you answered the question was absolutely amazing, and really I really, it's like, you know what, this interview has been very, very extremely amazing, and very informative. Last questions. It seems like you are the type of person that's in this world put together, and I'm sure you made a lot of money in this game. What is Natasha's guilty pleasure?
The opposite of all the business. Like, I don't know, right now, I want to go, like, walk around Riverwood and zone out, like, because I'm a person, I'm either on or off.
Okay.
So like right now I'm on. I got up, did my hair, did my makeup, put on jewelry, like different, like. But I'm also very relaxed. Like I like to just be on the porch. I like to cook out. I like to get in the pool. I like to grill. I like to be with my family. So I think because work can take so much out of me when I'm not working, I like to chill or just like relax, no phone. But I still very much enjoy like intellectual conversation. I enjoy reading. I enjoy, high-end outings. I don't get to travel as much because I'm like always dealing with the crisis, it feels like.
Okay.
But just any opportunity, like I think maybe I'll play tennis later today. Like just stuff like that where I get to let my hair down, maybe give it some physical fitness activity and connect with friends.
It's already something that you spend money on a lot, that you often catch yourself spending a little bit too much on.
I feel like personal maintenance is like nails and all this stuff is getting expensive. Like, and I don't think I'm that high maintenance, but it just seems like,
It's getting up there.
yeah, it just like all this the girly stuff. You got the eyebrows, the lashes, the hair, the nails,
Oh,
if you're doing podcasts and going out, you have to have new clothes and just kind of keeping up with yourself and
you often catch yourself just
it's just,
spending money.
well, I guess really it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like that reinvestment you have to keep making into your business, and this will be a part of it. Like
That's investment.
none of this stuff is free. You know what I'm saying? So even the going out of town to do a podcast, that's an investment.
Absolutely.
Mentorship, that's an investment. So
Mhm.
for me, I have, a small staff. I pay them every week. Like I feel like I'm always increasingly reinvesting in my company to get myself to the next step, which if I'm going to be investing and blowing money into something, why not that? So I can't complain
Excellent, excellent. Well,
because I'm my biggest asset, I think.
you are a big asset. Bars. Once again, thank you so much for coming. This was a very, very informative conversation. Hopefully we get to have, conversation like that more often.
Yes, yes. And hopefully we get to spend some more time together in a different setting. And it was all my pleasure.
Definitely, definitely. Thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Each and every week, we bring real people with real stories. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and share. Subscribe, Social Link Podcast. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.